Welcome to Ice Flame. Join us on another Star Wars adventure. Punch it, Chewie. Hey y'all, Ike here, and I hope you guys enjoyed our first part of our interview with Strike and are coming back to catch the second part here as we continue to talk to Strike about Star Wars, Ironheart's YouTube channel, and all that they got going on. Make sure to check out the description. We'll have all that linked. His Instagram and the YouTube channel and all that in the description, and check that out. But I hope you guys enjoyed this part two of our interview with Strike. I know, like we talked about movies, TV series. Are there any other media that I guess like you said, media that you get into? It sounds like maybe you've read some books. I know video games, any of that you have gotten into as well.
Yeah, for sure. I don't really dive into the comic side of things.
Okay.
I've had like some comics like when I was smaller, but like I mean, usually then like sort of one arc out of like a multiple like
Yeah.
probably like issue series. So it was more like on like if you saw it like at the store or something, and then I was like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, cool Star Wars comic,
Yeah.
but like not sort of beyond that.
Yeah.
But yeah, novels definitely some of my favorites definitely have to be like Labyrinth of Evil and Dark
Mm.
Lord. Those are
Mm.
like to this day, I just those are just so good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Heir to the Empire as well,
Mm. Yes.
which was also something I got into before the sequels, which definitely didn't help. But
Yes. Yeah.
um,
Got the legends versus canon thing
yeah,
going on there that stirs up a lot of stuff.
for sure. And video games definitely too. Like I mean OG Battlefront 2, like sort of
Yeah.
after expanding from like Lego Star Wars, like Battlefront
Mm.
2 definitely
Yeah.
and Republic Commando.
Mm.
Republic Commando is probably to this day my favorite Star Wars game. Like I love Clone Commandos, Delta
Yeah.
Squad,
Yeah.
like yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. That's awesome. Anything more current that you've been into lately, or?
Lately, not so much. I was when Battlefront 15 came out, I was playing that like
Yeah.
24/7. Like I really enjoyed that. Battlefront 2, even though it had clones, so technically I should like it more, but like the mechanics and like the gunplay I didn't really like and stuff
Yeah.
and some other things. So it wasn't really for me then. So I stopped playing that rather
Yeah.
soon actually.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah. Definitely awesome. Have you gotten into the High Republic stuff at all?
Not really. I
Okay.
like Jedi Survivor is all the extent of it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. Just curious. Um, yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. And all that's good. And I think like you said, like I haven't gotten into comics much either, but like I said, there's so many ways to get involved in Star Wars and things to check out and do, and um, there's way too much for one person to do all of it, and so it's just neat to see how different
Hmm.
people relate to Star Wars. Definitely. So next question I'm going to ask, and we prefaced this beforehand, before we started our conversation here. But um, how would you, and you, like I said, you can answer this however you feel comfortable. How do you see any sort of relation between Star Wars and like spirituality for you, religion or whatever that is? What do you have any connection there? Or just thoughts on that?
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. I mean, so I mean, I'm a Christian now. Not always been. I
Okay.
came to faith, but yeah, even before, there was definitely like something about just like that aspect of like the Force and like uh yeah, that side of things that was just highly interesting for sure. Um, and I think that is also to an extent something that just sort of like makes us so interested because of that
Mm,
sort of spiritual and like unexplainable side to it.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and so yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, yeah, just like sort of like the concept of like I mean, I like those stories in general, like sort of like the good and like the actual like evil
Mm.
and but then also, I mean, Star Wars I think does such a good job at like sort of like diving into things like the code, the doctrine of the Jedi Council and how they're technically sort of the good guys, but they've sort of strayed from the pure path of the
Yeah. Yeah.
Force. So
Yeah.
that kind of makes it bad, or like causes problems in
Mm.
between the Jedi and like also emotionally for the Jedi like Anakin,
Mm.
um,
Yeah.
and sort of like those kind of nuances and yeah, so yeah, I would definitely say, and I mean now being a Christian, I mean I obviously also see like quite a few more like similarities also
Mm.
there. So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, and I always think, I mean, like you mentioned, the good versus evil is, I mean, that's just, I mean, your classic storytelling, classic um intrigue that humans have, and part of the reason that's always in good storytelling.
mm,
Um, but yeah, I think it's interesting, like what you mentioned there, just like with the Jedi and kind of like they've strayed, and you're seeing some of the problems with that, and I think that can um, come into our own personal lives or into um, whatever religion
mm,
you associate with, and you what you believe in. And so I think like kind of uh, that keeping you have those ideas and that thoughts and
mm,
kind of that. And I completely agree too. And I think one thing is like there's always that mystery side of the Force, that like kind of mystical, that like I feel like just pulls at your heartstrings regardless of
mm,
what your faith background is or spiritual background. It just it's an intriguing concept, that I think makes all of us want to dive into it a little bit or have a better understanding. So yeah, definitely. Yeah, I
mm,
appreciate you sharing. Yeah, definitely that. I love kind of hearing how different people relate or um, that sort of thing. And I think it's also interesting you mentioned like you become a Christian, so you've like become in your faith, like you accepted that faith, and so then it's interesting to see, like you even mentioned, like prior to that, you still had this kind of pull to some sort of like spirituality or
mm.
concept of that, even before coming to your faith as well. So I think that's interesting, as well, kind of from a, I guess, non-religious perspective.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. As I said, thanks for sharing that. As we wrap up here, what are some things? I know you have your YouTube channel with Iron Hearts. I know you're on Instagram as well. Like I said, I'll put, for you guys listening or watching, I'll put all that stuff down in the description. But what are some things you are currently working on? I know you work with Avela a lot. You guys are currently working on together, and that might be coming up or that you guys are doing.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, right now we're sort of I mean, we're still starting this new YouTube channel in that sense. Like we had like our trip to Naboo, which so in Italy at the villa where they
Hmm.
filmed all that stuff.
Yeah.
And we have the video of how Avela made her Mando armor, which is also a fantastic video.
Yeah. Yeah.
And as of the time of the recording of this video, so it will be out when this is out. Like my build of my armor will come
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely something to check out. Because yeah, that was quite the journey making your own cosplay with all the
Yeah.
bumps in the
Yeah.
road that you can imagine. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um, but yeah, otherwise, yeah, I'm more or less active on Instagram. Also, can definitely always recommend checking out our like Discord community. Like
Yes. Yeah.
literally, like if you're just looking for a place to talk some Star Wars, more than welcome. So that's
Yeah,
always
definitely.
linked in any of our videos. So
Yep, definitely. Yeah, I'm in that Discord, so I jumped in. I haven't been in there too much, but I'll jump in and hang out or see what's going on.
yeah.
And just a great community. And that's I think you would agree, Strike, but that's one reason I love Star Wars is the community aspect of it and all the different things that have happened.
Mm.
And um, so the last thing I want to ask you before I let you go here is, and I believe this is correct. You went to Star Wars Celebration, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I've talked to Vela. I've also talked to JT, which I know you and Vela have a
Good
connection with.
friend. Yeah.
Yeah, so if you guys are listening, JT's already been on the podcast, and so what about Star Wars Celebration was like what was that like for you? What were some of your favorite things? I know you could probably talk about that for a few hours, so um, just give me some highlights from Star Wars Celebration.
Sounds good. Yeah, I'll try and keep it short. Yeah, I mean, it was quite the experience. I mean, I've actually never been to any sort of big like convention in that way, like Star Wars convention.
Yeah,
So like sort of diving immediately into like pretty much one of the biggest ones
yeah,
was definitely like a culture shock in that way almost.
yeah, yeah,
But yeah, it was just very exciting, and it was like I mean there were a lot of cool stuff. I mean, for instance, like just some of like the props and stuff that they have there, and I mean obviously like also the 501st members. Um,
yeah,
but yeah, I would honestly have to say, not because we were like talking about community, like the coolest aspect was probably like the people.
mm,
Like just everyone being even like if they weren't like in a cosplay necessarily, but still sort of like dressed up, and like when you were waiting in line for something, like usually like conversations started, and just like
yeah,
a very like wholesome and like united sort of feeling
yeah,
between fans.
yeah,
um yeah, so it was quite cool, and we got to meet some voice actors and some actors. We got to take some pictures with Hayden, or well,
mm,
yeah, Hayden, and like Ewan. I took a picture as well,
mm,
and yeah, we got to meet the like main Clone Wars cast, like
uh,
Matt Lanter, James Arnold
geez.
Taylor, Ashley Eckstein, and
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I would love to do that someday, but yeah, that I think that's so cool, and I think it's cool the fact that as I talked to Vela, I also I have another buddy who lives in London, or not London in London, but in the UK.
Mm,
He was at Star Wars Celebration too, and it's so interesting to hear you guys talk that like one of the coolest things is the community aspect to have like that many people there just hanging out because they love Star Wars.
mm,
So I think that is just seems like that's something that you have to experience, and not something that like can be recreated outside of that. So like I'd love to be able to
mm,
experience that. I was a little sad when the next one's in Japan, so probably won't be going there, but
mm.
maybe someday in the future. I think that'd be so cool to be able to go to Star Wars Celebration. So yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Anything else that you just want to share, Star Wars related, to um, what we've been talking about today?
Um,
I know that was
not
kind of off the wall question.
yeah. Um, I've not really. I mean, I think we had a great conversation, and
Yeah.
yeah, I I'm sort of like I will say like right now with stuff coming out, I'm sort of like hesitant to be too excited. I think one of the
Mm,
only things that I'll be definitely watching is Andor. There, I'm like pretty much actually
yeah.
looking
Yeah.
forward to it.
Yeah.
But everything else, I'm sort of on. I'll see it when it comes out, but sort of with
A little hesitant. Yeah. And I think,
yeah.
yeah, I've talked to some other people and I think they're kind of the same way. I feel like we've kind of hit a rough area. So
Mm,
I think I'll be I'll be interested to see how things go. Like I know we got the I don't know, a week or two ago we got the um, Bad Batch announcement for season 3.
Mm.
So I'll be intrigued to see what that. I hope they do a really good job with that. But we'll see what happens with Bad Batch, and then especially I think the era of Mandalorian and all that, and Ahsoka, and it's been a little not quite as smooth as when they started. So
Mm.
we'll be.
Yeah.
I will be intrigued to see what they do with all that. Definitely. Awesome. Well, thanks for coming on. Like I said, it's been awesome chatting. Like I said, I love just interviewing people, chatting about Star Wars, seeing what people love, how they got into it, and all that stuff. So, thanks for joining us on the podcast and just being a part of what we're doing. So, yeah, thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. All righty. Have a good one, and hopefully we will talk soon. Hey y'all, I loved having Strike on the podcast, and it was just super fun to have him on and have a conversation and talk. And just be able to discuss Star Wars community and all that we talked about here this week. And so go check out his YouTube channel, his Instagram. If you guys didn't catch the interview with Avela, probably close to a month ago now, go check that out as well. And just some really cool stuff that they're doing and they're working on. So thanks for joining us this week, and light the fire.